Introduce the District 22 State Senate Republican candidate, Mark Green.
Well, thank you everybody for coming out today. It's always a treat for me to come and chat with y'all. You really are the backbone of our party here in this county, and you're just a very important part. And I mean that when I say you're the backbone. You've held it together in times of blessing, when there's lots of conservative folks in the county, and then when there were fewer people attending meetings, the Montgomery County women were always, Republican women were always there, standing in the trenches, manning the stations, and I sure appreciate that. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Mark Green. I know there are a few folks in here that I've met for the first time, and I am the Republican candidate for State Senate District 22. To tell you just a little bit about myself, I grew up on a dirt road in South Mississippi. I tell people I got to Tennessee as quickly as the Army would let me. I joined the Army at age 17 and went to West Point, got a degree in economics, then went into the Army as an infantry officer and a ranger, served there for about 9 years. My dad's esophagus essentially exploded and a surgeon saved his life. And so I went to the Army and said, would you guys send me to med school? And they said yes. And about my senior year, it was our last year in residency in emergency medicine, 9/11 happened. And the Army's Special Operations Command got wind that there was this ex-Army Ranger who was about to become a fully trained ER doc, so they called me and said, will you come to the dark side of the force? And the rest is kind of history. I got here to Fort Campbell as quickly, again, as I could, and interviewed for the job, got the job, and became the Special Operations Flight Surgeon for 160th. In that role, I went to Iraq twice and Afghanistan once, and you guys loved on my family while we were gone, and that's a big part of why I'm running. I feel like I owe the people of this community so very much for taking care of my family while I was in combat. I got out of the Army in '06. I started a company. Shortly after that, the company has grown. We're in 5 states. We've grown 10,000% in that time. And God has just blessed us. I'm a firm believer in whom has been given much, much will be expected. So we started a foundation last year, sent docs to Ethiopia last year, and our Cambodia team just returned last week. It looks like we're going to be able to permanently staff a medical clinic with an organization in Cambodia that rescues women from the slave trade. Now, is that not cool or what? That's pretty awesome. We've also recently opened a free clinic. Many of you know about Manna Cafe. What a great service it does to the needy here in our community. And now on Thursday afternoons, we run a free healthcare clinic there for those guys as well. You know, our state, our Republican state, is doing fairly well. I mean, you look at the country right now, and the country is struggling. We write $190 million a day to China on the interest on our loans. And we have trillions of dollars in loans to China, and the United States government writes $190 million check a day to China. We essentially buy China an aircraft carrier every year, just paying the interest on our debt to them. And as the businesses look at what's happening at both the federal and state level, they're afraid. I mean, I'm a CEO of a healthcare company, I talk to other CEOs, they're petrified. The tax uncertainty and what is ahead of us as a nation has businesses afraid to invest. But in Tennessee, we are doing a little bit better. We have a Republican House, we have a Republican State Senate, and we have a Republican governor. And in the last 2 years, they've cut taxes, both years. They've cut the budget, and they've put $50 million in the rainy day fund. I mean, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? Our Republican-led legislature and executive branch have done fantastic. But our community has kind of suffered in the process, our district. I'll give you an example. In the Montgomery County area, we were, 5 years ago, 4th in the state in dollars for roads. We were the 4th highest of all the counties in road dollars from the state of Tennessee. Last year, we were 36th in the state for road dollars. 36th. We are the 9th fastest growing city in America. And the best that Senator Barnes, who sits on the Transportation Committee, by the way, the best he can get for us is 36th in the state of Tennessee. Think of all the jobs that have been lost when we fell from 4th in the state to 36th in the state. And the jobs that come from infrastructure. Businesses will come here to Clarksville if we have roads and infrastructure that support them. That's even more jobs lost. And when you think about this election cycle, it's about jobs. I mean, it really is. The unemployment rate is twice what it was 4 years ago. And the unemployment rate is deceptive. We all know that they only count people who are looking for employment now. Those that have kind of quit trying are no longer counted. So if you look at the more telling figure, and that is the workforce participation rate, it's the lowest it's been since the 80s. It's tragic. And so it's the economy and jobs. And instead of great platitudes, we actually have real ideas. I'll give you a couple of examples. One of the things that I want to do is, right now, if you invest in a Tennessee-based company, you have to pay tax on that investment. You do. It's called the Hall tax. Well, I submit to you that if you invest in a Tennessee-based company who hires Tennesseans and operates right here in our state, you should not have to pay tax on that investment. And that will preferentially direct investment to our companies, our small businesses right here in our town. And they can use that capital to grow, expand, and create jobs. And another great idea I think we have is our grant for veterans. You know, we give hundreds of millions of dollars to these big companies, but the real job creator are the small businessmen. So veterans who are retiring from the military, who have a $50,000 a year economic impact in year one, why can't the state give them a $10,000 grant to retire in our state and open a business? There's a positive return on investment in year one, and they are opening a business. And better yet, they're hiring, and the icing on the cake is we get to take care of people who are willing to write a blank check for our freedom. And that blank check could equal their life. So I think those are some really good ideas on how we can stimulate job growth in our community. You know, we also have other ideas about partnerships with Austin P and healthcare IT companies. We're in the negotiations with those companies right now. There are other opportunities. You can go to our website to get the details of that. But you know, a big part of the problem that really we face at all levels of government, is the stewardship of our resources. You know, the real debt of our federal government is a millstone around our neck. And what we want are elected officials who will not waste our dollars. We want elected officials who will do the right things and steward our money well. You know, in the state of Tennessee, there's a thing called Per Diem. And the senators who live remote, well, any senator can actually take the $173 a day that's given. And it's designed to take care of those senators who live, say, in Knoxville and have to drive 3 or 4 hours to get to Nashville. That was its intended purpose. But unfortunately, there are Tennessee senators, Tennessee state senators, who live within a half an hour, or maybe a little more than a half an hour from Nashville, who are taking this per diem money. And I want to officially announce today that unlike my Democratic opponent, Senator Tim Barnes, who for the last 4 years has taken $59,460 of per diem money, living just over half an hour from Nashville, I will not take a penny of per diem. Twice what it was 4 years ago. With our community no longer 4th in the state, but 36th in the state, we need a state senator who will fight for the resources and protect the resources of this community and get our community what it deserves. You know, there are people in our town who are having a hard time right now paying their light bill. There are hundreds of Clarksville residents who drive to Nashville every day and commute for their job, and they don't get $60,000 in per diem like Senator Barnes has taken. It's inappropriate. It's wrong. And I will not take per diem. You know, I'm a true conservative, and I mean that. I will talk the talk, but I will walk the walk, and I will not take the per diem from the state of Tennessee. I thank you all for coming out today, and normally we do a few questions after this. Is that okay? Again, though, let me just say thank you for having me out. Candy, thanks for coming out today. If y'all haven't met my lovely bride, you should. She's awesome. And I guess now we'll just take some questions. Yes, ma'am.
When you decide that you're not going to receive that, can you allocate it for some sort of social program? Or?
That's a great question. What I think I'd like to see it done, though, is give it back to the taxpayer.
Is there not some way that they can rewrite that, like the military has within a 50-mile radius?
You know, it's interesting that you raised that question. The IRS has ruled that Senator Barnes's payments that are so-called expenses can't be counted as expenses for him because he lives so close to his workplace. So hopefully he's accounting for it as income. But in the military, if I slept in my bed and claimed per diem, I'd be in Leavenworth. But that's the military's rule. In the state of Tennessee, you can legally take per diem. I mean, he can legally take per diem. It's just not the right thing to do.
Does it change if they live in East Tennessee? Is the amount higher?
No, it's $173 a day for everyone.
So does Curtis take it?
I don't know if he does or not. I will say that I am aware of some people from my own party who probably shouldn't take it. But I'm going to leave that to them. You know, my conscience won't allow me to take the per diem. That's money that belongs to the people of Tennessee. Yes,
I just want to say thank you for your honesty. Thank you. We need this.
Thank you.
We really do.
Other questions? Well, thanks so much for having me again. I really I love coming to chat with you guys and to see you again. I'll hang around, and if you have other questions, you can grab me afterwards. Thanks again.